Hello and welcome to CodeRash with Gaurav. Let's learn developing and designing software in a practical way and for free. CodeRash brings you insights about interview preparation, coding exercises and lot more. So stay tuned and subscribe for more.
Array is a basic thing you will need to program. Today I will walk you through the most common and useful array methods that make your life simpler. So stick till the end of the video. The first array method we are looking at is every. So the idea here is we should be able to run a condition against each and every element in that array and see if all the elements matches our criteria. So the example here says that you have a user list of your area and you are trying to determine if everybody is eligible to vote, and say that your voting criteria is the person should be above or equals to the age of 18. So what we are saying here over here is this callback, what we are passing to every, should run for each and every item, each and every person here, and should tell us is everybody eligible to vote. So let's run this and we see true, because here if you see, look at the ages, everybody is eligible. If I decrease the age of the first person, let's say, I get false, because this condition is not matching for each and every guy. So if you want to use if you want to run some logic where you want to see if my matching condition is going to be satisfied by each and every element in that array, you should be using every. The next array method we are looking at is sum. So unlike every, it tells us that at least one of the elements is matching our criteria. So in the given example, let's say we want to know if at least somebody is eligible to be voting or not. So in this case, we want to determine if at least one of the user is above and equals to the age of 18. So if I run this code, I get false, because nobody is above 18 years of age. Nobody is eligible to vote. So let me try changing age of one of the guy and save it. So you see true. So the result comes out to be true, that at least one of the element is matching our criteria. So in cases where you want to determine, like given your condition, if at least one of the element in the array matches your criteria, you should be using sum. The next array method we're going to look at is filter. This is one of the most commonly used array method. As the name suggests, filter is going to help us in filtering down a long list based on our use case. It could be a condition where we want to say that we want to filter down a long list based on a given condition and we want to focus on that. So in this example, we are looking at a users list and we are trying to focus only on those users who are eligible to vote. So in this particular case, if I run this code, I get two records who are eligible to vote, which is Mary and Samantha. So because their age is above 18, we get those records back. I'm also logging users here to check if the filter method modified my original array. So in this case, you should note that when I apply a filter on an array, it actually doesn't modify the original array but returns a new one, where the original array, once we are logging it, it remains the same. So for the use cases where you have a long list of array elements and you want to filter that array down with using some condition, you should be using a filter. The next array method we are going to look at is map. Unlike filters where you want to work on a subset of a list, map returns you another array based on some transformations that you want to do in the input array. So general rule of thumb we should be remembering is whenever you want to play around with some data values in the array, some formatting you want to change, and then you want to get an array out as an output out of the map where the number of elements are equal to the input array, in such cases you should be using map. So let us look at this particular example where we want to modify this array, and within this array we want to mark an attribute, when we want to add an attribute which says that whether the user is eligible to vote or not. So if you see here, if we are using users.map and we are passing a callback function which returns a new element where we are taking everything from the user and then adding another attribute which is called as is eligible based on the condition. So if I run this code, I get 4 elements because my input array had 4 elements. We should be expecting in the output same number of elements here. And you see here there is another attribute which is called as is eligible added to each of the entry that we had. So I got false for the first two and true for the next two, the last two, where the condition is matching. And let us also see if the users.map, this operation modified our original array. So you see there is nothing that is changed in the original array. So we should remember that users.map or any array.map does not modify the original array. It returns you another array out of it based on some modifications that you want to do on the elements of the input array. The next array method we're going to look at is find. Very similar to filter, like we saw before. We want to get to a subset of an array. We want to basically filter an array and get to the right elements where our given condition matches. But find differs a little bit in a way that it gets you the first element which matches the condition. It doesn't return you an array. It returns you the first find where it is able to match the criteria. So again, we are saying that we want to see out of this user list which of the user has just reached the age of 18, so that we can have some kind of an onboarding of that user or that voter, because this voter could be voting for the first time. So if we want to filter out or we want to find such a user, we are going to use users.find and with the condition where the age is 18, and let us run this code. So voter to be onboarded, in this particular variable we got the object, the user object itself. So in this case it returns you the first match. Let us try this out. So let's say I have 2 of the records that are matching our criteria. If I run this again, I still get the Pete, the guy Pete as a result, because that was the first match. In case you want to filter down the entire list based on our condition, if you want to get if your intention is not getting the first find, if you want to get all the users who are to be onboarded, you should be using filter in this case. But if you want to reach a result which is the first match, you should be using find. The next array method we're going to look at is includes. Thing to note here is includes always takes an elementary value. Now in our case, our user list or user array is an array of objects. Our idea is to find out that if there is any user in our list whose age is 18. Now includes takes a number or an elementary value to match. In this case, what we are doing is from the previous lesson, we are going to convert this array into an array of ages, like we are doing here. We are doing users.map and we are just returning e.age. So this guy should give us an array containing 8, 19, 20 and 45. Within that array of elementary elements, we are trying to see if there is a elementary match of 18, and then we are seeing that if there is a user which is to be onboarded. So if I run this code, I get false because none of the user is having an age of 18. Let me quickly change that to see if it works. Yes, we got true. So includes is another way of finding a match, or probably the first match in an array, like at least some of the condition matches this particular criteria. But remember that includes always takes an elementary value as an input. So probably we'll have to do some kind of a modification or some kind of a transformation in the input array if that input array is an array of objects. The next array method we're going to look at is reduce. So this may sound a little complicated, but let us try to break it down. The general rule of thumb to remember here is whenever you want to convert an array or reach an elementary value out of all the elements in the array, you should be using reduce. The elementary value could be sum of elements in that array, could be something like an average of values. So in all these cases where you want to reach to a singular value out of all the elements in the array, you should be using reduce. Now in our use case here, what we are doing is we are trying to calculate the total age of all the users and the average age of them. And in this case we want to reduce to a total sum of all the users age. That is why we are using reduce. So that becomes a rationale of using reduce. Like this could have been done with a for loop, maintaining some variables in the sum, but we want to showcase that we are trying to reduce to a singular value out of an array. That is why we are using reduce here. Now when you are using reduce, it accepts a method, special method as an argument, which is called as a reducer. Now this reducer accepts 4 parameters. One is a previous value, the first one is a previous value. The previous value is basically a kind of a chaining. Previous value is an output of a chaining in this particular case, and whatever we are returning from here becomes an input in the next iteration as the previous value. So let's say you are trying to do a sum so far. So sum of this array. So we'll start with 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40. So in this case, users.reduce the previous value. When you are iterating for the first time, we are passing that as an initial value of 0. So in this particular case, the previous value becomes 0, and the current value is the object in iteration. So we take the age out of it and we add it to the previous value. So in this particular case, our previous value is 0 and the current value is 10. Current value dot age is 10. So we return a sum of 10 from here. And in the next iteration, our previous value is actually the input from the previous iteration. So in the next iteration, this previous value is 10 and the current value is this object in iteration, which is 20, the next element. In the next iteration, we do 10, which is the previous value, and then the current value dot age, basically, which is 20. So we return from here 10 plus 20. Similarly, 10 plus 20 plus 30, and then 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40. So we reduce to a singular value, which is basically the sum of all the ages in the array. So if you debug this, the total age should come out to be 100, and then we are trying to divide that total with the users dot length, which would give us an average of ages. So if you run this, we get the total age as 100, the average is 25 because 100 divided by 4. And let us also look at the original array, which didn't get modified. So thing to remember here is, whenever you are trying to reduce an array, the original array remains unmodified. So thing to remember and to break it down to learn it better is through chaining. Always remember that the previous value is the return of the previous reduction. The last method we are going to look at is for each. Pretty simple, nothing special over there. It's like a for loop where you want to iterate over all the elements in an array and you want to do something with that. Now in this case, we are going through all the users in that list and we are just logging their name. So if I run this, I get all their names and I get to see that the original array is not modified. So nothing special, right? Now in the comment box, you let me know what should have been the result of return of for each. What would this have logged? Return of for each. Now because I have disabled log from here, I am only showing debug logs. You don't get to see here, but you need to tell me in the comments. One special thing to remember here is there is no break for each. If you have set for each on an array, it will make sure that it is going to run for each and every element. Like unlike a for loop where on some condition you can break it. Now let me try to do that here. If the user dot name is John, which is going to be our first match, let me try to break the loop. I get an error saying illegal break statement, so I cannot break a for each loop. So let's get rid of this. Also, I cannot return. I can say that I just want to return and don't do anything if I find a match. Let's say John, and I return from here. So in this case, you may expect that the like this loop will be, or the for each loop would be will be running only once, but that is not the case. It runs for all, and there is no valid return statement from for each. So this becomes an important question to remember as an interview preparation. For each cannot be broken, for each runs for each and every element for sure. And while if you are trying to compare that with the for loop, you can break that or you can stop it wherever you want.
So stay tuned and subscribe for more.